You're antagonistic to the idea of being robbed, exploited, degraded, humiliated, or deceived. Misery depresses you. Ignorance depresses you. Persecution depresses you. Violence depresses you. Slums depress you. Greed depresses you. Crime depresses you. Corruption depresses you. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if you're a manic depressive. Yes, sir. Perhaps I am. Don't try to deny it.
In January 2020, in what now seems like a prophetic forecast for the distressing year to come, the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists announced to the world that it was 100 seconds to midnight.
It is 100 seconds to midnight. We are now expressing how close the world is to catastrophe in seconds, not hours or even minutes. It is the closest to doomsday we have ever been in the history of the doomsday clock. We now face a true emergency, an absolutely unacceptable state of world affairs that has eliminated any margin for error or further delay.
Citing nuclear proliferation, climate change, and cyber-based disinformation as specific immediate threats, the Assembly pleaded with the world. Now is the time to come together, to unite, and to act. Since then, you may have woken up every morning feeling like the manic-depressive Yossarian, simultaneously depressed and antagonized, desiring nothing more than to be locked away in a sensory deprivation tank in a vain attempt to avoid metastasizing anxiety. It's the sensation of being the only passenger to cry out that the plane is on fire while being reassured that actually the flames are good for you. But instead of a plane, it's the entire planet. Our roles as educators hold so much power and promise. Before the pandemic, the classroom was for many a place of solace and connectedness to the best of us, our kids. In the years since, however, teachers have been alienated even from that work. Our individual influence may help slow the countdown to midnight and contribute mere milliseconds to its reversal. Yet the last 2 years have heightened the sense that school systems are role-playing normalcy and functionality in an ever abnormal and dysfunctional environment. It's never been enough to prepare every learner for a lifetime of personal success, but a pedagogy of normalcy seems particularly maladaptive for the challenges our students will face. What is it about the world that is worth preparing students for? And are we dedicated to the work of building that better world alongside them? Urgent problems like climate change require not just immediate, widespread, and collective action, but also a recalibration of our educational values and the measures of achievement that normally define personal and institutional success. Holding teachers and students accountable to the educational outcomes created by the same systems that have reproduced dysfunction and inequity elsewhere through massively racialized and inequitable economic outcomes, a mental health and suicide epidemic among young people, an opioid crisis, gun violence, police violence, democratic backsliding, is nonsensical. It's not enough to innovate within a system, to find ways of doing bad things better, rather than demand young people spend their youth waiting around for the moment they become fully realized human beings. A humane education is one whose organizing principle is the innate capacity of students to be critical, empathetic agents in their communities and on the global stage. In the words of Henry Giroux.
Now more than ever, educators must live up to the challenge of keeping the fires of resistance burning with a feverish intensity. Only then will we be able to keep the lights on and the future open. My friend, the late Howard Zinn, rightly insisted that hope is the willingness, quote, to sustain, even in times of pessimism, the possibility of surprise. In addition to that eloquent appeal, I would say that history is open. It's time to think differently in order to act differently, especially if as educators, We want to imagine and fight for alternative futures and build new horizons of possibility.